This tutorial is going to show you how to save multiple text boxes into your shared object in an efficient way, which is using an array. Now you could use variables like last time, but you'd have to make multiple variables, and you probably would even have to make multiple subfolders within your share object, like player name 1, player name 2, etc. This is inefficient. We're not going to do that. We are in fact going to use an array, which is what this code looks like here. Now an array is pretty much like a virtual table. You give it a name, and then you can allocate numbered slots to each little piece of data. And that's what we're going to do here. So we've called it my first array. I've also changed the name of the shared object just to show that it can be done. And you can see it down here. So we have a text box 1, text box 2, text box 3. So that's meant to say. And those are obviously designated here, here, and here. And we're also going to use those text boxes to display our information as well. So we're not going to bother with dynamic text boxes this time through. And you can see here, here's our array. And that little square bracket with a 0 and another square bracket is designating slot 0. So your arrays always begin at slot 0. They don't start at slot 1, so don't confuse yourself with that. And obviously the next section of data is slot 1 and slot 2. And I've put some silly trace messages in here just because I felt like it. And then obviously we need to save it to the SO. And I've given it a sub name of 3 names because there's 3 names. And obviously we're going to flush it because you must flush, otherwise it won't save externally. So that's how our save button works. And now we obviously need to load it. And this one's going to be a little different this time because we're going to add in an if statement to ensure that data is present before we load. So I'm pasting this one in. Alright, so here's our load button. And this one contains a conditional statement or an if statement, and it pretty much reads, if the storage object 3 names is null, i.e. has nothing in it, then we're going to get this message that says there's no data yet. And what it'll do is just set up the array ready to go, so to speak. It won't actually save any data in there because there is nothing. And then the other condition is if it does find data, then it will load that data, which is what this little part here says. So it's saying our array equals whatever saved in our whatever is loading out of our storage object. And then this bottom section here will actually display it. So the array can load it, but it won't show it unless you tell it to. And that's what these 3 lines are doing here. It's telling the text boxes individually to show what is in those arrays that we just loaded. And so all that together, if we press Control Enter, we type in some names, and if we hit save, we should see that popping up down here. And now if we close it, reopen it, and hit load, all 3 of them will appear. So a much more efficient way than making 3 different variables is to use an array.